Hello, my name is Shatanjela Black, and I'll be talking to you today about dyscalculia. Okay, dyscalculia is a learning disorder that has to do with the way the brain processes numbers. Sometimes it's called a math disorder. I found a very interesting quote that says dyscalculia means that you can see the numbers, but you don't know what they mean. So basically, it's not that you can't see the numbers. You see the numbers, and you can even say the numbers, but your brain is not processing what they mean. Okay, dyscalculia is, as I said before, it's a learning disorder of the brain that makes numbers and equations very difficult to learn and process. Dyscalculia is also known as a math disorder. As I mentioned before, dyscalculia is not as well known as dyslexia, but it's just as common. Dyscalculia is often misdiagnosed and misunderstood, and this is a big reason why math can be very intimidating for a lot of students. I know I didn't have a math disorder, and it was pretty intimidating for me, but I was able to grasp the concepts and learn what I needed to learn. Some of the warning signs, and they could start as early as preschool. Um, with these warning signs. So it's really something to look out for. And I do have a 4-year-old, and we've been watching him to make sure that this is not something that he deals with. But that preschooler could have trouble learning how to count, and they may be skipping over numbers long after kids the same age remember the numbers in their correct order. So if they're still skipping long after they should have it, then that may be the sign of a disorder. They could struggle to recognize patterns, such as small to large, or shortest to tallest, or vice versa. They could have trouble recognizing numbers and symbols, like as far as what a 7 is. They can say 7 and they may be able to count to 7, but when they see the number 7, it may not stick in their brain that that's the number 7, or that's the number 1, or that's the number 2. So they should be able to recognize the numbers right along with counting in order. Okay. They don't seem to understand the meaning of counting. For example, when you ask 5 blocks, when you ask for 5 blocks, your child just hands you a bunch of blocks. Like they can't count out and say, like my son, if I tell him get me 2 blocks, he'll say 1, 2. He'll count out 2 blocks. Well, a child as young as that with dyscalculia may not be able to grasp the concept that you want a specific number of blocks. They just come bring you blocks. Okay, grade school, once they get a little older, they get into their primary years, their grade school years, warning signs could be something like they got a difficulty in learning and recalling basic math facts, like basic math problems, like something as simple as 2 plus 2 or 3 plus 4. It may not stick in their mind, okay? They could struggle to identify symbols like the plus signs and the negative signs. Um, they may still use their fingers to count, which when you get to a certain grade, you should not have to use your fingers to count simple numbers. So I shouldn't have to say that 2, 1, 2 plus 2, 1, 2 equals 4. I shouldn't have to do that. I should be able to say that, do that in my head at this point. So that may be a sign of dyscalculia. They could struggle to understand words related to math, like greater than, less than, stuff like that when it comes to word problems. And they may have visual, spatial representation of numbers. They may have problems with visual spatial when it comes to representation with numbers and number lines. Okay. When you get into your middle school years, they can have difficulty understanding place value. Okay. They have trouble writing numbers clearly or putting them in the correct columns. That's something that kids with math disorders struggle with, is putting them in correct spaces or limiting themselves to correct spaces. They can have trouble with fractions and measuring. Okay, things like in ingredients for a recipe, like 2/3 or 3/4. They may not be able to figure that out like without a measuring cup, or figure out what that means, or how much liquid or of the ingredient that is. They may struggle to keep score in sport games like basketball, where it goes quick. 2 points, 2 points, 2 points, and and then they throw a 3 point in there, and they just may lose track of that. They're not able to keep up with that. In high school, they can struggle with things like uh, counting money concepts, okay, total cost and making change and figuring out a tip. And we have a lot of family consumer science classes that teaches our high school kids how to do those things, because that's part of life. Part of being an adult is to know how to do those things, and that may be something that they're not able to grasp or get. They can have a hard time with graphs and charts, plotting. And we know, your it's trigonometry and algebra classes and all that, they may have to do some graphing. Okay, they may have difficulty measuring things for a bottle, like let me see, simple recipes like liquids in a bottle, stuff like that, gallons, ounces, and they can have trouble finding different approaches to the same math problem. So you figure out how to do it one way, but then when it's turned around, you can't, your brain won't let you grasp the concept that that's the same. You can get to the same answer from a different way. All right. And some of the challenges outside of the classroom for dyscalculia, because it can affect your life outside of the classroom. Um, for school age kids, they may be they have, it's the symbol recognition deal again. If they're not able to grasp and grasp the concept of symbols in math, they may have those same issues in real life, like when they're driving, remembering what a yield sign means, and remembering what an arrow turning to the left or an arrow turning to the right mean, or even that, stuff like the speed limit. Their brain may not let them get that concept that they have to follow those signs or remember what they mean. Um, they're late a lot because it's the concept of time. They can't get it. And if there's a clock represented, they may have a hard time telling time. Their brains just cannot process that. And they can have a difficult time playing strategy games where they have to sit and visualize next moves, plan. Um, People with math disorders have a hard time doing that because it's putting things in specific places. Okay, we got this visual spatial deal happening. So, card games and chess and checkers, stuff like that, could just be really hard for them to learn and play. Okay. There are lots of strategies that can be used to help, especially in the classroom, to help kids deal with dyscalculia. Talking out the problem, sometimes just talking it out and hearing the words can help them unlock that place in their mind, and they're able to get the concepts. Okay, um, drawing out the problem, if they're able to see it in picture form, they're able to, oh, okay, this is what that means, and maybe go ahead and get the answer that way, or it unlocks the answer for them that way. Breaking it down, always taking something big and breaking it down to little pieces. I mean, that works for people without disorders. It's just a good way to get the concept of something. If it seems large and abstract, taking chunks of it to whittling it down to step by step so that you can get it better. You can learn it better. Okay, using real life concepts, cues, and physical objects that connect that math problem to your real life. Like you go into the grocery store to buy some cereal or milk, and that's something that you do in real life, and figuring out prices and numbers and equations from that. Something getting gas, and figuring out gas prices, or figuring out how to pay this bill or that bill, just connecting it to something that you're going to do, the price of buying a favorite video game, or something that they can relate to, that helps them to get certain concepts in math. Okay, it just makes it real for them. And also constantly reviewing, it's going to help them keep those concepts fresh in their mind. So constant reviewing is always good. Okay, and some assistive technology that we can use to help kids through this disorder. There's lots of math software out there. We're looking at high-tech items. Lots of math software out there that can be used on tablets and computers and laptops and things of that nature. That's kind of got electronic math worksheets. All those things that kids gravitate toward electronics now, things that they can pull up on their phones or their tablets, these items that they're used to having, and they're able to learn that way, and that technology assists them that way. We got mid-tech items like calculators, and you're talking calculators for those that need to hear, and even math. The math toolbars are good. And then you have low-tech items, stuff like blocks, manipulative blocks, and two-dimensional and three-dimensional geometric shapes, things that they can touch and feel. Oh, this is what a triangle feels like, or this is what a cube feels like, and that can help them get that in their mind. Picture boards, even graphing paper. Sometimes writing things on graphing paper, as simple as that, lining things up and making it in order, helps them to get that. I learned a lot going through this. I learned a lot, and some of these concepts and strategies can totally be used and transferred into other classes, into other subjects. And I think that's the because I'm not a math teacher, and I think that's what I got out of it the most. So that was Dyscalculia. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you.